Okay.
It's kind of crowded.
Yeah. I'm gonna go around here actually.
So this temporalis muscle is the one that helps like cats and dogs perk up their ears. Can anybody wiggle their ears? That's temporalis muscle.
I'm trying. It's not working.
Neuron in the Monday lab. It was like so it was like it looked like bat wings. I'm not kidding you. Yeah, and then we kept asking him to do it, and he was laughing too hard and couldn't. Okay, so here's your temporalis muscle, and then you want to turn the cat. Ooh, sorry.
Delicious.
Oh my God, I thought I got some on you.
Oh no.
Look at him pointing here. Okay, so what you want to do is expose the cheek muscle. And for a lot of you who have larger cats, there will be a lot of connective tissue around the cheek muscle. Okay, so you kind of want to peel stuff off using your blunt probe so you don't hurt anything. You want to expose this whole area here. And one of the landmarks that you'll see is the jugular vein. Okay, so the jugular vein comes up here and it splits into an internal branch, an external branch, and a transverse branch right here. Okay, so the reason that we expose that is, first of all, we can see this big cheek muscle here. This is called the masseter muscle. Okay, and then if you notice, there's a white line, it looks like dental floss, that's traversing the belly of the masseter muscle. And this is actually a salivary duct, a salivary gland duct. And if you kind of dig with your probe into the area where there's this split of your jugular veins, you can dig out these little circular pad things. See these? Okay, there's another one right here.
What are those things?
Those are salivary glands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then this whole area under the ear here, okay, if you peel back, there's a whole huge salivary gland. That's the big one, the parotid salivary gland. So you can see it all in here. Okay, so there's little accessory salivary glands, but what you want to pay attention to mainly is this duct here. All right? All right, so then we're going to go toward the underside of the cat here. And again, you're going to have a lot of connective tissue, so be patient in peeling it off, because what you want to reveal are the muscles, but you want to be able to see the demarcations that kind of define them from one another. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice is that under the chin of the cat there are two muscle straps following the mandible. These muscle straps are called your digastric muscles. Okay, and then between the digastric muscles there are these muscle fibers. You can see them, they run from here to here, so they run across. These are the mylohyoid muscles. Okay, so then the next thing you want to look for is this transverse jugular vein. And you want to be real careful about peeling off the connective tissue here. And what you're going to reveal is a pair of muscles that runs parallel, and it runs from the sternum to this area right underneath the transverse jugular vein. This is the hyoid area. So this muscle, these muscles are called the sternohyoid muscles. Okay, and then a lot of you, this is where your cats were injected, so it's kind of messed up. But there are another pair of muscles. Dig them out right here.
Is that just all connective tissue?
Yeah, this is all connective tissue. It's fat and gross stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of fat on our cat. He was well
All
fed.
your cats are
He was
huge.
chunky.
Must have had like a special on.
It's because nobody wants
Obese
to
cat.
adopt old cats.
I know. Same with old doggies. Okay, so here's one of the muscles. You see it right here, and it's kind of bent and cut up over here. But this muscle runs from the sternum up to the mastoid process of the mandible. It's called the sternomastoid. Okay, so there's a pair in the middle called the sternohyoid, and there are two straps of muscle called the sternomastoid that go up in a V. Oh, my eyes are watering. Okay, so when we look at the chest area, what we're going to be looking for are our pectoral muscles. Okay, so get as much of this fat off as you can, but you have to be really gentle because there's a strip of muscle that runs from just about this abdominal area up to here that's just very delicate. But as we're clearing away this connective tissue, you can kind of see the demarcations between muscle groups. So you see there's a strap here that goes across the chest. Then there's these pairs of triangles right here. There are these straps right here, and then these real thin straps right here that are a little harder to see. Okay, and these bottom straps are the ones that are usually stripped off when you're skinning the cat. So if you don't have them, look on somebody else's because the chances are pretty good that you might have skinned them off. Okay, so the first thing is, okay, I want to dissect these muscles going across the chest, and you can use your scalpel just to run along the line that separates them from the triangular muscles. Okay, these muscles are called your pecto-antebrachialis muscles. Pecto-antebrachialis. Okay, so those are the top pectoral muscles. And if you stick your blunt probe underneath here and kind of separate it from everything else, okay, and you pull on it, it makes the arm go like this. Okay, so this is the pecto-antebrachialis. Now, the next group of muscles I can see is this little triangle. I'm going to do my best to separate these muscles here. Okay, and these are paired muscles, so if you mess up on one side, try the other side. That's the best part about muscles. Okay, so this triangle here, this is your pectoralis major muscle. All right. And then you'll see just posterior to the pectoralis major is a strip of muscle. Okay, and this is the pectoralis minor muscle. Okay, it's not minor because it's smaller, it's minor because it's more posterior. Okay, and then finally this last strip of muscle right here. I'm going to do my best to clear away this connective tissue so you can see it. This is your last pectoral muscle here. And it's really thin. You'll notice that it's just a real thin sheet of muscle. Gross, gross, gross. It's touching me. This strip runs from here to here. This is the xiphi humerales. Okay, so your pectoral muscles include the pecto-antebrachialis, the pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, and xiphi humerales. Okay? If we go down to the leg, okay, a lot of you will have a lot of fat right here. If you have a male, just be real careful about dissecting the fat out. I was showing Q earlier that I found the spermatic cord and everything, and you can see that its balls are outside the body, but the spermatic ducts and the vessels that are associated with the testes go through the inguinal canal right here into the body cavity. So just be real careful if you have a male with this area. Don't just cut stuff off. But generally, like this fat, it'll just peel off. Sorry, it's great.
Oh,
Okay, so just be careful what you cut. If you're weary about it or wary about it, then just don't do it. Okay, so what we want to notice in the leg part is two muscles. Okay, there's this huge muscle sheet right here that forms part of the quadriceps, and then there's this hamstring muscle down here. This is the sartorius, and this one is the gracilis. Okay, and if we go further down the foreleg and peel this little membrane off, what I want to reveal here is the calf muscle. Okay, this calf muscle right here, connected to the heel by the Achilles tendon right here, this really strong tendon. This is called the gastrocnemius. All right, gastrocnemius, sartorius gracilis. All right, now for the hard part, the shoulder muscles. Okay, so what I'm going to look at or show you guys first is the trapezius and deltoid groups. So we're looking at everything from the neck and upper shoulder area to the lower shoulder, upper arm area. So your trapezius muscles are going to be the upper back, upper neck, shoulder area. The deltoid muscles are going to be more on your lower shoulder to your upper arm area. All right, so the first thing you want to do, and this cat is so membranous. I feel so bad because it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so there's a huge sheet of muscle that runs from the neck here down to the shoulder. It looks like one continuous sheet, but it's actually two muscles. So it runs from the neck to the shoulder, and then the shoulder to the crook of the arm. This group up here on the neck and shoulder is called your clavotrapezius. Okay? And from the shoulder to the crook of the arm, it's called the clavodeltoid. Now, your book calls it the clavobrachialis, but it calls all the other deltoid muscles deltoid muscles. So I learned at clavodeltoid. You can put clavodeltoid, clavobrachialis, whatever you remember best. Okay? So clavotrapezius, clavodeltoid. Now, most of our trapezius and deltoid muscles are paired in that there's one trapezius to each deltoid muscle, but there's one muscle in the upper shoulder area here that does not have a deltoid or a trapezius pair. This muscle right here, if you lift up on it, it'll make the cat's shoulder go like this. This is called the levator scapulae ventralis. Okay? Clavotrapezius, clavodeltoid, levator scapulae ventralis. Now, we're going to move a little bit dorsal and posterior and look at the scapula here. So if you pull the cat's arm into its belly or chest area, you're going to raise up the scapula, and there's a sheet of muscle that's covering the scapula right here. This is the acromiotrapezius. Acromio. So it is situated atop the acromion, what do you call that? The acromion process of the scapula, I guess. I can't remember. Okay, so acromiotrapezius is just dorsal and posterior to your levator scapulae ventralis. Now, to look for the acromiodeltoid, what you have to do is look for a couple blood vessels, which aren't injected in this cat, of course. So, but basically what you want to do is look posterior to your clavodeltoid, and you'll see some connective tissue, and it's covering this triangle of muscle right here. Okay? This is your acromiodeltoid. Okay? Clavotrapezius, clavodeltoid, acromiotrapezius, acromiodeltoid. Now next, if you go posterior and even more dorsal, you're going to find a little triangular flap of tissue here. Okay, and this flap right here is the spinotrapezius. It's called spino because it inserts on the spine of the scapula. Okay, spinotrapezius, and then the spinodeltoid is here on the upper arm. Okay, and it's this muscle right here. Okay, so this big muscle group right here is the spinotrapezius. Remember, or the spinodeltoid, and remember your acromiodeltoid is this little triangle. Okay, so look, we have our deltoid muscles: clavodeltoid, acromiodeltoid, spinodeltoid, and we have our trapezius: clavotrapezius, acromiotrapezius, spinotrapezius. We have our levator scapulae ventralis, and then we have this huge sheet of muscle that goes deep to your spinotrapezius here. And if you kind of lift up on it, you can get your fingers in between there. And this big flappy muscle here is the latissimus dorsi. Okay, so you remember how in the mud puppy, it too formed kind of a flap of tissue between the armpit and the back. Okay, so those are your shoulder muscles and those. Now we have to do the butt and the hip muscles. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to put your cat up like this, so its ventral side is down, and there's going to be a lot of picking. So this is a non-picked side of this cat, and what I do is you just stick your blunt probe in with a little bit of force, and then you can just start peeling stuff off. Yummy. Gross. Okay, so you can peel through that, and what you're going to have to do is when you get up here toward the spinal column, you're really going to want to clear away tissue as best you can with your blunt probe so that you can find the little places where the muscles kind of are demarcated from one another. So it's a little hard to see on this, and I cheat because I know where they are already. So okay, so basically what I did is I took this really thick fascia off of this area here because I wanted to reveal the butt muscles. All right, so let's start with the thigh though. So remember on the ventral side of the thigh we had that huge sartorius muscle. Well, you can see it from this side too. Okay, so the sartorius is up here, and then the big sheet of muscle right here, this is called the biceps femoris. Okay, gracilis is on the other side. All right, so sartorius, biceps femoris. Okay, and if you lift up the biceps femoris, you're going to see there's a small strap of muscle that runs deep to it. Okay, so I can see it right here. All right, this is the caudo femoralis. Just anterior and dorsal to the caudo femoralis is this, it's kind of hard to see, this little strip of muscle right here. That's the gluteus maximus. And anterior to that is this big round muscle here. That's the gluteus medius. So the gluteus medius is bigger than the gluteus maximus. So I think it's maximus because it's on top of gluteus medius. All right, so now what you want to do is look at your sartorius muscle and your biceps femoris muscle. And in between there, there's this really thick sheet of connective tissue. This connective tissue is called the fascia latae, L-A-T-A-E. All right, you can pronounce it fascia latae because that's how most people remember it. This fascia latae, if you look up here, you can see that there are muscle fibers that are kind of joining in with the fascia latae. These muscle fibers, when they contract, they pull on this fascia. These are called the tensor fascia latae. So their job is to tense up the fascia latae. Okay, so you have sartorius, biceps femoris, fascia latae, tensor fascia latae, caudofemoralis, gluteus maximus right here, and gluteus medius right here. Okay? Go forth.